You just signed the paperwork, sitting in your brand new car. That new leather smell, hitting different, and for about 11 minutes, you feel like you made it. Then, your phone buzzes with an auto-pay confirmation. And there it is, staring back at you from your bank notification. $1,000 gone. Just like that. Every single month for the next 6 years. Your chest tightens a little, doing some quick math in your head, and realize that over the life of this loan, you're handing over more than the car was ever worth. And the worst part is you did everything right. Or at least, you thought you did. Right now, 1 in 5 new car buyers is locked into massive monthly payments. Payments north of $1,000. 1 in 5. That is not some fringe group of reckless spenders. That is your coworker. That is your neighbor backing out of the driveway every morning in that nice FUV, while quietly skipping contributions to their retirement account. That is potentially you, sitting there nodding along to some rule of thumb you picked up online, thinking you're being smart about it. Let's talk about that rule. Actually, you've probably heard some version of it. Spend no more than 35% of your gross annual income on a car. Sounds reasonable, right? Responsible, even. So you pull up your salary. Do the math. You make $60,000 a year, putting you at a $21,000 car. Or maybe you're pulling in $160,000. So you figure a $56,000 vehicle is totally within bounds. The math checks out. The spreadsheet looks clean, and that is exactly where the trap closes. Because gross income is a ghost number. It is money you never actually touch. Taxes take their cut. Health insurance takes its cut. Your rent or mortgage takes its cut. By the time your paycheck lands in your checking account, that 35% has quietly ballooned into something closer to 50 or 60% of the cash you actually live on. But the rule doesn't care about that. The rule just tells you what you can spend. It says absolutely nothing about what happens to the rest of your life once you actually do it. And so you end up in this bizarre situation where you follow the advice. You stayed under the limit. You feel like a responsible adult, and yet somehow there is nothing left at the end of the month. Nothing for a house down payment. Nothing flowing into investments. Nothing building toward the kind of freedom you actually want. You traded your future for a depreciating asset and a monthly payment that eats you alive. And you did it while believing you were being careful. It is not the car. It is not even the payment. It is the confidence. It is the false sense of security that comes from following a rule that was never built to serve your interests in the first place. The 35% guideline is a ceiling, not a target, and most people treat it like a green light. Now, some people will tell you to drop that number down to 25% of your gross income instead. And yeah, that is better. On a $100,000 salary, you're looking at a $25,000 car, which leaves a lot more breathing room. But even that, more conservative number is still just a sticker price limit. It still doesn't account for the thing that actually drowns people. What happens the moment you drive off the lot? And how you structured the deal to get there. And that part, honestly, is where it gets really ugly. Now here is where the math gets really uncomfortable. So, stay with me. Take a $50,000 car, 6% interest rate, 8-year loan. If you put 20% down, you're financing $40,000. If you put 0 down, you're financing the full $50,000. Over those 8 years, the difference in total interest paid is over $2,600. That is just the cost of not having cash ready on day one. $2,600 that quietly disappears into the bank's pocket while you're busy picking out floor mats. And that leads to something most people skip entirely. You need to take whatever cash you actually have saved for a down payment and divide it by 0.2. So if you've got $10,000 sitting in your account, ready to go, your real ceiling is a $50,000 car, not a penny more. And here is the part that stings. You might have already run the numbers from your income and thought you could swing something bigger. But whichever number comes out lower, the income calculation or this down payment check, that is your actual budget. Not the one you want, the one reality gives you. Here is where it falls apart. Not in some dramatic way. It happens quietly, usually on a Sunday night, when you finally sit down and add up everything that car actually costs you. You look at the $400 payment and think, okay, I can swing that. But then you pull up your bank statement and start scrolling. Gas, insurance, that oil change you kept putting off, registration, the parking garage, downtown that charges you just to exist. And suddenly, that $400 car is draining over $900 a month. That is not a rounding error. That is an entirely different financial reality than the one you signed up for at the dealership. And this is exactly how the whole thing is designed to work. Right? The dealership shows you one number. The lender shows you one number. The ad on your phone shows you one number. Everyone in the chain has an incentive to keep your eyes locked on that monthly payment. Because the moment you zoom out and see the full picture, you would walk away from the deal. They know that, so they never let you zoom out. So, what is the actual number you should be watching? Forget the sticker payment. The real metric is your total monthly cost of ownership, meaning every dollar that leaves your account, because that vehicle exists in your life. And a rough way to estimate it is almost embarrassingly simple. Take your monthly car payment and double it. If you're paying $300 a month, assume the real cost is closer to $600. Once you account for everything, and if you live somewhere expensive, like San Francisco or New York, multiply by 2.5 instead, because insurance, parking, and gas in those cities will quietly bleed you dry. Now, here is the part that actually stings. That total number, whatever it comes out to, should sit at or below 10% of your gross monthly income. Not 15, not 20, 10, because your car isn't the only thing competing for your paycheck, right? You have housing, utilities, insurance, groceries, and if you're trying to build any kind of financial future at all, you need room left over for that too. When your car expense creeps past that 10% line, it doesn't just squeeze your budget. It starts quietly cannibalizing the parts of your financial life that actually build wealth. Your savings rate drops. Your investment contributions shrink. Your emergency fund stays paper thin, and you end up working harder every month just to maintain a depreciating asset that loses value every single day you drive it. That is the real trap. By the way, it is not the interest rate. It is not the loan term. It is the fact that nobody ever showed you the full cost. So you've been operating on incomplete information your entire driving life, and every single entity that profits from your car, the lenders, the insurers, the service centers, they're all perfectly comfortable letting you keep doing exactly that. 6 years from now, someone's going to pull into a dealership lot, hand over the keys to a car they've been driving every single day, and walk away with absolutely nothing. $31,000. Gone. No car in the driveway, no asset to sell, just a payment history and a long walk home. That is the real ending of a lease. And almost nobody pictures it before they sign. Same car, different move. You buy it, $5,000 down, finance $20,000, over 4 years at 6%. Your payment is $470 a month, which hurts more in the moment. But after 4 years, it stops completely. Double the maintenance to $3,000 just to be safe. Total cost over 6 years, comes to $30,560, and you still have the car sitting in your garage. After 6 years of driving, that car is probably worth around $12,000. Sell it, and your net cost drops to $18,500. That is a $12,500 difference, and it only grows wider every month. You keep driving a car with no payment attached to it. So here is the actual move, and I'm warning you. It is boring. There is no trick, no hack, no secret. The dealerships don't want you to know. It is one calculation, done once, before emotions get involved. Open your phone, calculator right now. Take your gross annual income and multiply it by 0.20, not the 0.35 that most guidelines suggest. 20%. That number is your price ceiling. Write it down somewhere. You'll actually see it. A note on your phone, a sticky on your laptop, whatever. That is the maximum sticker price you allow yourself to look at. When you find something under that number, you put 20% down and finance the rest over 4 years, not 6, 4. Then you drive that car until it begs you to stop. That is the whole strategy. One number, calculated, before the leather seat smell hits you, before a salesperson starts reframing everything as a monthly payment, because that monthly framing is exactly how people end up spending $30,000, $1,000 on something they have to return. Now look, Experian found that the average lease payment in 2024 was about $148 less per month than the average loan payment on the same vehicle. So if cash flow is genuinely tight, leasing isn't automatically a disaster. But be honest with yourself about whether you're choosing lower payments out of real necessity or because you never sat down and ran the 6-year math. Those are completely different situations. If you don't care about swapping cars every couple of years, if you'd rather let your money quietly work for you, buying and holding is the move that compounds in your favor month after month. Once the loan disappears, every payment you no longer make is money redirected wherever you choose. So here is the part where most people check out. You've sat through the numbers, you've seen the flowchart, and now there is this sinking feeling in your stomach because the car you actually want is sitting on the other side of a line you cannot cross yet. I know that feeling. It is not fun, but I need you to stay with me for just another minute because that discomfort you're feeling right now isn't a punishment. It is the one thing that might actually keep you from getting financially wrecked. Picture someone 3 years from now who ignored that gut feeling, signed the paperwork anyway, and is now sitting in a parking garage, scrolling through their banking app at 11 at night, trying to figure out which bill to push back this month. Their car is beautiful. Their checking account is not. They have 0 exit options because every dollar is already spoken for before it even hits their account. That is what happens when you skip the buffer. Now here is what the buffer actually looks like in practice, and it is almost embarrassingly small. You spend maybe 45 minutes one weekend watching a video on how to do your own oil change. That is roughly $200 a year. You just stopped bleeding. You take 5, maybe 10 minutes to shop your car insurance, which right now averages around $2,700 a year for full coverage. Most people who bother to compare end up saving around $460 annually just by switching. No penalties, no drama, just a few clicks. Between those two things alone, you've clawed back over $600 a year, and you didn't have to earn a single extra dollar to get there. That isn't wealth building advice. That is just stopping the leak before you try to fill the bucket. But the real thing I want to leave you with is this. Before you commit to any car payment. Try saving that exact amount every month, right now. If you're eyeing a $700 monthly payment, open a separate account and move $700 into it for 2 or 3 months. If that feels like you're suffocating, you just gave yourself the answer without signing anything, without owing anyone, without a single point of damage to your credit. You got to test drive the financial weight of that car before the car even existed in your life. And if it doesn't work, you walk away. Nobody talks about it, but the ability to walk away from a deal you can't sustain is worth more than any interest rate negotiation or dealer incentive. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is going to make you rich. It is not. What it does is give you just enough room to breathe so your car doesn't become the thing that eats every other financial goal you have. A house down payment, an investment account, even just the ability to quit a job you hate without panicking. All of that starts with not letting one purchase consume your entire margin. And look, if you're watching this and realizing the gap between where you are and where you want to be feels wide, that is actually a good sign. It means you're being honest with yourself, which is more than most people ever do. The next move is just getting your savings to a place where you have options. And I have a whole video on that if you want to keep going. But before you click away, I genuinely want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me the one car expense that caught you completely off guard, the one you never saw coming until it was already on your statement. I have a feeling the answers are going to be way more useful than anything I could put in a flowchart.